No one wants to F you, and that is your power. By J. Armour. Table of Contents. Table of Contents: Hormones, Nature, Other Apes, The Monkey Paw, Childbearing, Dreams, Acceptance, Bibliography. Hormones. Yes, we are all humans, and as such we do have hormonal urges. If your sex is male and your testosterone is on the higher end, you will think of sex around every 60 seconds. If your sex is female, you will have your strongest sexual urges during ovulation, which is day 14 of your 28-day cycle. This is when your body produces an egg that would die within 24 hours. But are we just a being that houses the urge to reproduce? Or are we able to rise above that urge? If you are reading this book, then you happen to live in an amazing time of medical discovery. There are 12 types of birth control that can do wonders to ease the human sexual problem. Women on the birth control pill claim to have very mild menstruations and little to no sexual libido or urge. Also, females can enjoy a number of self-pleasure devices that in this day and age has become quite mundane and no longer frowned upon. If you are male, things are a bit different for you. Most men deal with their urges through masturbation. However, it tends to pacify them, especially those unmotivated to achieve success in life. Viewing pornography is another out for both sexes, which could be either positive or negative. However, the chances are that excessive viewing of pornography can cause a downward spiral in a person's mentality. They may also develop severe jealousy and bitterness which, when acted upon, has shown itself to be extremely detrimental to society. It is not a stretch to recall an incident of someone acting out against society due to being unsuccessful in their mating life. In either case, viewing pornography is probably not the best case scenario as a cure-all for men. The same goes for seeking sex workers. In some cases, sex workers might offer a good form of human-to-human contact that might help a patron get through life, but in a lot of cases many still develop resentment for such workers. For one thing, the feeling of being ripped off is quite common for patrons when dealing with those in the sex work field. This feeling extends to online sex work as well. Many times a person will spend money expecting the other person to fulfill a fantasy of theirs, only to be severely disappointed and/or scammed. The worker is simply doing what they have to do for money and is not responsible for filling a need in the customer for justice or fairness. Good luck asking for a refund. In all likelihood you will simply get blocked after voicing your displeasure with their product or effort. In these cases, the less work from the worker the better, hence why it is not in your best interest to pour your wishes and money onto others. In the extreme, we can think of quite a few serial killers who targeted sex workers. Most influencers encourage a no-fap or a no-masturbation movement, where instead of masturbating, males focus on self-improvement. In fact, most religious systems encourage the same. Hence why some men refer to this as going monk mode. Like everything else, there is good and bad in everything and no one fix is the best. Nature. How do the sexes deal with their urges throughout the rest of the animal kingdom? Perhaps by examining these species we could put together a greater understanding of our roles in nature and the realities therein. Most animals seem to react to the ovulation cycle of the female of the species. This is using scent to attract a mate. As humans, we know the importance of a good perfume. So do these animals. As in the case of leopards and tigers, the females go into heat, make mating calls and mark their territory with urine so as to attract males with her pheromones, as in the case of the leopard or tiger who also happen to be single mothers of the animal kingdom. If other males are around during such a time, males will compete for who will get the opportunity to mate with said female, and the female will also watch to see which male she approves of. Very few animals seem to have sex just for fun like humans do, but amongst these types of animals are other apes, which we will get to last. How do the sexes attract each other and does it always work? Arizona State University wrote an article called, Mate Choice in Animals, on their Ask a Biologist page. There it broke down that from species to species, the mating habits change but can be summed up in different categories: striking attractiveness, performance art, shows of strength, gifts and sense. I suggested an example of scent already, so we'll look at the other categories. When most people think of striking attractiveness, the first animal that may come to mind is the peacock. The male peacock is known for its excessive plumage. The male peacock grows long tail feathers which are beautifully embellished. No two peacocks share the same embellishment. The most extravagant peacock is chosen by the female of the species. Interestingly enough, the excessive tail plumage does not help the peacock to survive in nature. On the contrary, it is a bit of a hindrance. However, the excessive plumage also proves the male's ability to grow healthily and acquire food, hence, it is an indicator of survival prowess. We also have the example of the birds of paradise, in which the males tend to exhibit beautiful neon colors and do extravagant dance performances to attract females. There are 42 species within this genus, and the male Victoria rifle bird is one of the standouts. All males of the genus contain large and extravagant plumage featuring multiple bright colors. Each male performs a display of its beauty and athletic performance to allure a female's attraction. If you have not witnessed these performances, I implore you to do so. You will not regret it. Every time I watch a video of the Victoria rifle bird's courtship dance performance, I am simply floored. To describe it simply, it seems as though the bird can change shape and form as well as colors. Another fact to mention is that the male must completely clean the area that he will perform in before he can start his performance. Apparently, a female bird will not go into an area that is not clean. I think there are a few lessons here for apes of the humankind to learn from. Be clean. No one, either male or female, wants to visit an unsanitary or unkempt room. A funny fact also is that in nesting birds, a lot of the time the DNA of the children does not match that of the male. Meaning that in nesting birds, the female may still feel the need to mate with another male secretly and have the nesting male feed and raise another bird's young. See, humans are not the only species unsure of paternity. In regards to performing animals, I'll go ahead and include tree frogs in this category as well, due to the bright colored spots on them, and they sing to attract a female mate. Like most species, the female is the chooser and judges the quality of the male through the performance and colors he displays. Once again, it shows his good brain development and body development, which also shows that they were able to attain an abundance of food. The article also points out male jumping spiders who show off colors and do elaborate dances. Interestingly enough, one of the only role reversals goes to the pipefish, where the male has a pouch for raising young. In that species the males are choosy and plain looking since they would be carrying the young, and the females exhibit flashy colors which catches the eye of the male. We can also look at shows of strength. In all the cases I've witnessed, it's always the male competing against each other. I'm sure many of us have seen these huge Komodo dragons or monitor lizards wrestle each other. I'm sure many of us have seen bears wrestle each other until one decides to flee the fight. Other animals that fight each other for a chance to mate are deer, goats, rams, horned beetles, dung beetles, gorillas, and even giraffes. Interestingly enough, in the case of the giraffe, to determine whether or not the female is fertile, the male giraffe will rub a female's backside, which will stimulate her to urinate. He will taste the urine, and if she is fertile, he will follow behind her until she allows him to mate with her. While following her, the male giraffe will fight off other males who notice that she is fertile. They will hit each other with their long necks until one of them wins. That male will then rest his head on the female's backside or rub her hind leg, which would tell her that he is ready to mate. He will then follow her for hours until she allows him to mate with her. Gift giving. Male flies and Eurasian jaybirds give gifts of food to their prospective female suitor. Where have we seen this before? Most human dating involves the giving of food from one gender to another. Usually, the male to the female. In the case of the penguin, the male penguin finds the most perfect pebble and presents it as a gift to his prospective mate. The bower bird also presents shiny or beautiful objects in his nest to attract a female. Human males should be able to relate to these behaviors because human marriage involves giving a rock or diamond to a prospective partner. Also, men go out of their way to acquire lavish houses and cars, simply to attract female suitors. A comedian once said that if males didn't want to attract females, they would basically sleep under a tree. Anyway, back to the bowerbird. After the female arrives and inspects his lavish and decorative nest, he then also performs a song and dance as well. His nest is located on the ground, but after they mate, the female flies off and builds her own nest high above ground and raises the children on her own. Similarly, many human males or females choose to raise children on their own where they deem to be a more favorable environment for child rearing. Now that we've reviewed various other species of animals, let's now take a look at how our closest relatives choose their mates, apes. Other apes. I'll address the gorilla first because his case is the most extreme. Competition is fierce amongst males and only one gorilla will have the chance to mate with all of the females in his group. Imagine being a gorilla. Chances are you probably would not get to mate. Those chances are brutal. Makes you feel a little better about being a human ape now, doesn't it? What about other apes? Let's consider the chimpanzee, with whom we share about 98.8% of our DNA with. Chimpanzees are patriarchal and as such the male may have domination over one or more females. Only the males go on hunting trips in the chimpanzee species. Chimpanzees on a whole are promiscuous, and if a female chimpanzee notices that a male chimpanzee has female partners, she might be drawn to join him as well. A chimpanzee could be found sneaking off to have a brief sexual encounter with an interested female even while not during her heat period. Young males often switch their allegiances in order to seize sexual opportunities from male squabbles. During a female chimp's heat period, her genitals swell up and prove irresistible to males. Female chimps may mate with several different males, and males have large testicles in order for a chance of their sperm to win out over another male's. A chimp could even mate with another chimpanzee from an outside group secretly and then come right back. Sometimes a mother might commit infanticide if it would mess with her position in a female hierarchy, and occasionally males commit infanticide if the infant is not theirs, often eating the child and hastening the female's reproductive cycle. Another group of apes, called the bonobo apes, have a much different sexual situation. Humans share 98.7% of DNA with bonobo apes, and interestingly, although bonobos and chimps are 99.6% alike, bonobos actually donated 1% of DNA to chimpanzees through two interactions, 500,000 years ago and 200,000 years ago. Like chimpanzees, the bonobo apes are also promiscuous. However, even more so. The bonobo apes are more slender than chimpanzees and slightly shorter as well. Their legs are also longer, appearing more human-like in their body shape, although still being quadrupeds. Unlike other ape species, the females of the bonobo apes are the ones that form very strong alliances, not the males. Also of note is that humans and bonobo apes are the only primates that face each other while mating. The females greet each other by embracing face to face, tongue kissing and rubbing their clitorises against each other for 10 to 20 seconds, many times in succession and as regularly as every 2 hours. This behavior is accompanied by grinding, shrieking and engorgement of the clitorises. Although these females are much shorter than human females, their clitorises are 3 times larger than a human female's clitoris. This greeting bonds the females together and they work together against any unwanted male interaction. That being said, males also display sexual greetings towards each other. They also rub their penis against each other, sometimes while hanging from a tree. The females choose which males they want to mate with and mating can occur at any time. The males have friendships with the females. Although the females are mostly the hunters, the males also hunt with them. Any of the sexes mate with any age, including infants. Mothers can interrupt a male competitor to their son, giving their son a chance to mate. The females choose their male mates and the most popular males have the most offspring. Remarkably, there are no infanticides in bonobo apes, possibly because no one can be sure whose child is whose, due to promiscuity. They are also known to adopt infants as well. Humans are most closely related to the chimpanzee and the bonobo ape and may see both of these mating strategies throughout societies. Perhaps in another few hundred years humans might display similar mating strategies to the bonobo as the hold of the patriarchy wanes in favor of the gynocracy amongst affluent societies with strong infrastructure and facilities. All it would take to have humanity become more bonobo-like would be a female lesbian association which includes every single human female. They would have to live amongst each other, provide safety for each other and then oversee any male that they allow to mate with them temporarily. I can imagine such a society and it might be as few as 200 years away. Male competition will be far greater, since the females of the bonobo tend to like the same males. This is actually something that we already see amongst human males as well. We've seen it with boy bands like the Beatles or even Justin Bieber. Coming to think of it now, this future could have happened in the 1960s. The monkey paw. Are you familiar with the concept of the monkey's paw? The monkey's paw was an evil item that granted a wish for each finger of the mummified monkey's hand. Unfortunately, the user had to undergo traumatic events in order for the wishes to be granted. The results were so devastating to the user that it would have been far better not to wish for those things to begin with. Wish you had it all. Why don't we dive into some of the unfavorable outcomes that could transpire had our popularity been different?